we more and more understand what psychology says since its existence, that feedback is the critical variable, and the time, the latency, the specificity, the number of feedback, the intensity. So that is the critical variable, and we don't understand for the particular movements or thoughts what kind of feedback is the most important and the best one. That's why we have so many problems. Now, I'll just give you an example. We were surprised when we saw that people who we throw in the MR scanner, magnetic resonance imaging, and you gave them feedback about their blood flow in the brain, all of them within 20 minutes can perfectly control a particular brain area, wherever the brain area is related. When I do this with the EEG, and I sit a child in front of my EEG machine and ask the child to increase and decrease his activity, or adult, doesn't matter, they need 10 to 15 hours before they control it. Why is this? Well, they all get feedback. The electric person gets feedback of the electric activity, and the blood person gets feedback of the. But the blood person learns in 20 minutes, and the other one needs 20 hours. Now, I think the reason is because in the vascular system, when I change the activity in my vascular system in the brain, what I really change is I change the diameter and the increasing and decreasing of my vessels. And the vessels give information about their state back to the brain. So the brain is constantly informed, continuously informed about what I'm doing. I don't feel it, except of migraine, then you feel it. But apart from pain, you're not feeling the blood vessels normally, but the brain is constantly informed about the blood flow, and it regulates it tightly, because the brain has to regulate blood flow extremely tightly in order it functions, to get an equilibrium in its function. And that feedback comes from the vessels to the brain. And that is the reason why we can control metabolic changes in the brain better than the electric activity. Because for the electric activity, we don't get feedback. I mean, an action potential or an alpha wave, which is produced by, let's say, 6 million cells, that alpha wave is not perceived as an alpha wave by the cells who are producing in them, because we don't have receptors, electric receptors like a bat or other animals who have, or electric fish, which has a receptor for electricity. Of course, when we push a lot of electricity in the brain, we feel it. But that's usually not the nerve cells who do that. It's some other receptors, pain receptors, vascular changes, who make us feeling this. But the brain itself has no feeling. You can cut it up and down while you're conscious and you don't feel anything. So to make the long story short, a brain variable, a brain function can be easily controlled, voluntary controlled, if the feedback to the brain is fast, reliable, and specific. Then, and that's not new, Thorndike knew this 100 years ago. It's just surprising that it works also in the physiology. It's the same thing. And the more diffuse, late, and difficult to perceive the brain, the feedback is, the more difficult is the learning process. And that means EEG is more difficult. It's cheap and it's nice and it's the easiest to do, but it's the most difficult one. While fMRI, the most expensive one, and the cumbersome one, that's the easiest to control.